hello. It's been a long time since I've wrapped up books. So I've got like, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books to talk about. A lot of them though are short books, like, or mangas or children's books that I read for 91 and 91. So is there a cat in here? Oh, there is. Okay. So I won't have that much to say about them, but there are a lot of books to get through. So let's get going. First up, we've got Stealing Home by Mary Stoles. This is about this young man who he lived with his grandpa because his parents are dead, and it's like the 50s or something. It's not modern day, but his great aunt comes to visit, and well, they think she's visiting, but she more like moves in, and she's changing their lives around, and it's really annoying for both of them. And it's about him learning to accept his great aunt as a person and everything. It's fine. It's a book that I'll be putting in the classroom because it's at like a 4.5 fifth grade reading level. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. After that, I read a book on my Kindle. It's called The Everlasting Return by L.E. Mullen. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember jack shit about that book. So there's a picture of the cover. I guess I read it. All right, then I read Carmilla by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. And this is a classic vampire novel. It's kind of touted as one of the earliest vampire novels, like pre-Dracula. And it is also touted as a very early lesbian novel. It's very, very, lesbians really like this book. And going into this, I was expecting it to be kind of, I wasn't expecting it to be quite so Oscar Wilde as it was. It's very blatant, and it is about this young woman who she's an upper class young woman, and one day her and her father find this carriage has been kind of overturned, and the carriage has a mother and a daughter, and the mother's like, "Can you just watch this? Can you just watch her? Like, I can't, I gotta go, I gotta do stuff. Can you just watch her?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, all right." But Carmilla, this girl is a little bit different. She's a vampire. But no, it was good. Is it my favorite? No, it's not my favorite classic. It might be, it's not my favorite vampire novel. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read the first volume of The Birds of Shangri-La by Ranomaru Zaria. And you can kind of tell by the cover what this is about. Oh man. So this is about this guy who he needs a new job because his wife was cheating on him. So he's like, I'm gonna get divorced to this lady, and he needs a job. And what he ends up doing, he's a straight man, he ends up going and becoming like this. He helps the young men on this brothel island become ready for their job for the day. And then there's this other guy there who is almost assigned to him, to get him acclimated, and there's a lot of backstory, a lot of trauma there that we haven't really gotten into yet. At this point in time, I am going to be continuing. How long will this last? I don't know. I'm trying to find a example of the artwork. There we go. This is the art. I gave it what, 4 out of 5? 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read a Goosebumps slappy world book, Attack of the Jack by R.L. Stine. This is follows there are 2 siblings, boy and a girl, as we always do, and they are going to like visit their uncle who lives in the lighthouse. And he's like, do anything you want, but don't go in this room and don't open this chest. And they're like, okay, and then they do. And these like pirates, creepy pirate things come out, and then there's some weird magical situation. It's fine. I've been watching the Gavin Reads It All Goosebumps vlogs, and I actually watched his one on Slappy World right before I read this. I don't think that colored my enjoyment of it, but I was definitely thinking about it. I think I enjoyed it more than he did. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It's very typical when it comes to later stage Goosebumps books. It's not my favorite. I just don't like the concept as much. I don't like the characters as much. 3 out of 5 stars. All right, and then I read another Kindle one, and this one I do remember reading, is Andre Tales of a Psychopathic Lover by V. Adrien, which is a book about this guy, and he is a serial cheater. It's like a novella. It's very short, and it's basically just this guy, really being really full of himself and really liking this new woman. But it is kind of assumed and it's kind of implied that once he gets sick of this new woman, he's going to cheat on her too, because his other girlfriend is somebody that he did, it's a cycle situation where he cheats on somebody with another girl, and then it just keeps going around and around and around in circles. The writing was fine. The characterization was there. Was anybody likable? Not particularly, but the characterization was there. It was fine. I believe I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. After that, I reread a favorite, and that is the next book in my read of the Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun series. This is number 2. So Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun is a manga series following this girl, and in the very first, at the beginning, she's got this crush on this guy named Nozaki, and he's just really big and really strong. But when she goes up and tries to confess her love to him, she goes, "I've always been your fan," and he goes, "Oh, okay," and he signs an autograph for her because he's actually a shoujo manga artist, and he thinks that she's just asking for his autograph. And it's so funny. I love this series so much. I think it is the funniest thing that's ever existed. The art's very cute. It's from about 2014-ish, that 2012, 2013, 2014-ish. So that kind of range. So yes, this did come out when I was in high school, which I'm sure the nostalgia plays a part in it, but it's very funny. The characters are all so over the top, and everybody kind of gets a chance to play the straight man once in a while. And it's hilarious. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. All right, this next one was also technically a reread. How to Be a Pirate by Cressida Cowell, which is a How to Train Your Dragon book. This series was one that I read as a child. It is, if you've watched the movie, you might have a vague understanding. The books are very different from the movies, but the basic hiccup is loser little Viking situation is still there. But this one, there's a whole thing with the pirates. This is where Alvin shows up. It's a very fun time. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. This is one that's going in my classroom library. All right, Lying Low by Diane Johnson. This is I want to call it an early domestic thriller, sort of. So we follow these 3 women primarily, and they've all got different things that they're kind of running from. So we've got Mary Beth, who is probably the most obvious. She is on the run from the law, because she was part of an activist group that blew up a lab. And then we've got Ouida, who is an illegal immigrant. And then you got Theo, who is really on the run from her own mortality more than anything. She's an aging ballerina, and there's a lot going on there just internally. It was fine. It was interesting to a point. I think I was the most invested in Mary Beth's story, just because she had the most going on, because there was so much going on. Like when she tried to run away, and the whole thing with Shen Yu was just, there's a lot going on there. Overall though, it was fine. It wasn't really my thing. It took me a while to read. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. All right, next, another reread of a favorite. I reread Justine by the Marquis de Sade. And so last year I read 120 Days of Sodom, and it was bad, because it was so clearly unfinished. And so I was wondering, like, is the Marquis de Sade just bad? So I decided I want to reread Justine, and he's not. Justine is still, I still really enjoy Justine. I think it's a really fun time. Justine follows this girl, Justine, who her parents die, and her older sister take very different approaches to their life thereafter. Her older sister's like, I gotta do what I gotta do, and she ends up just marrying a bunch of men and killing them all off and getting their money. And she lives a very good life. And Justine's like, no, I gotta be virtuous, I gotta do the right thing. And she is constantly abused and everything from every single person she meets. Every single person she meets. It borders on hilarious sometimes, just how many situations this girl gets herself into. But no, it's fun. It's really, if you splice a lecture on French philosophy in with like torture porn, that's what Justine is. It's weird, but it is better than 120 Days of Sodom. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. All right, next up, Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs by Chuck Klosterman. I read a lot of Chuck Klosterman just because he's from North Dakota, and so sometimes I can relate to stuff he's saying. But this is a low culture manifesto, so it's talking about things that are not really like highbrow situations. So it talks about, let's go in here. Yeah. So we talked about like, you know, like Saved by the Bell and serial killers and just like really like current, this is from like 2004 or something like that, current situations, stuff like that. It is funny. I did laugh a couple times. It is genuinely funny at points. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy Chuck Klosterman's writing. I don't know how much of that though is the fact that I can relate to some of it just by virtue of him being from North Dakota. I gave it 4.75 out of 5 stars. All right, next, manga. This one was funny because I've never read a manga that has references at the back before. That's How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift, Volume 1. Let me see if I can find a... Yeah, it's fine. So this is a series about this girl, and she notices that she has been getting a little chubby. So she's like, you know, I'm going to start working out. And she ends up going to this gym, and she meets another girl there, and then she starts lifting weights. And what's interesting about this one is that so obviously trying to get youth to go to the gym and lift weights. Like, it definitely has an agenda, and that agenda is get swole, which is kind of funny. I can see where we might have issues with her, with the very, very clear and blatant kind of like fear around being, I'm not even gonna say chubby, because like she's like 115 pounds and she's like, that's too much. But no, it was fun. And I am at this point vaguely interested in continuing. I do have the second volume already. And I'm kind of, it's like a tentative, like maybe I'll keep going. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So yeah. All right, next, another children's book, The Well by Mildred D. Taylor. So this is about this black family who, there's a drought and their well's the only one that's not run dry, and there's an issue with the white family. Okay. This is like a children's middle grade book. Unfortunately, it does have the N-word in it like one too many times for me to like feel comfortable putting in a 5th grade classroom. Like, if it had happened once, I'd be like, okay. But it's about 10-15 times I'm like, this is a 100-page book, like let's slow our roll a little bit here. Like, I understand why it was in there, but like I'm not putting that in the room full of 5th graders who are gonna forget about it. It was fine. 4 out of 5 stars. All right, then I read The Music of What Happens by Bill Konigsberg. This is a Konigsberg is very, very, he was big back in the day. Back in the early days of gay white, not like early days, but like early 2010s. Openly Straight was really, really big at that point in time. And so this is about these two kids, and they end up working together at a food truck over the summer, and they both have issues. They both have got stuff going on. The one was raped, and he's just kind of smiling through the pain. And the other one, his mom has got a gambling problem and like bipolar, and he's having some struggles. Can you not? Yo. And so there's a lot going on there. I really like the characterization. I thought it was really interesting. And I did think that this was a really good, it was a really well done book, a really well put together book. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. All right, on the opposite end of the spectrum, Killing Stalking Volume 5. I don't know where volumes 2 and 3 went. I mean, 3 and 4 went. I've read volumes 1 and 2. So this is a almost infamous manhwa about this creepy little guy who falls in love with one of his male classmates and decides that he's going to break into his house. Turns out the guy he's in love with is a serial killer. And it's just this very twisted, disgusting little situation with the two of them. This one is interesting because it feels like it's almost trying to backpedal on their relationship a little bit and gives them a little bit more cute moments, which is weird to say. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But there's a lot going on here. All right, Catman's Daughter. We're almost done, I swear. Catman's Daughter, about this girl whose parents are divorced. Her dad's a famous TV star, and she feels like they don't really care about her. They just care about like one-upping each other. So she runs away to her grandma's house. It was fine. 3 out of 5 stars. All right. Real About High School Volume 2 by Reiji Saiga and Sora Inoue. Art style, very typical of the time period. It's older. It's about this high school where they're fighting all the time. And honestly, this style of manga is really hard for me to follow because I feel like there should be a lot more action. And there is a lot of action, but action in... I just don't care for it. I do own the anime on DVD. And I feel like it's going to be better in anime. Just because of the whole action. It's the same thing I have with sports animes. When we've got so much action, it's just better when it's animated. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. I have read the first volume of this one, actually. I just keep accidentally getting more volumes, but that is that. 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to continue on with it unless it like shows up in a lot of random manga. And finally, I finished my reread of Come Out Tonight by Richard Lehman. And this one was a reread because I remember the atmosphere being so well done. And it is. The atmosphere is absolutely delicious. It's wonderful. It's a very like hot, gross situation. I really enjoy that part about it. But this one really, like, so much happens in this book. It seems almost episodic. And I do love Richard Lehman. I think he's very fun. But this was just like one thing after another, after another, after another. And it wasn't like cohesive in any real way. And there are some other Lehman books that can be episodic and it can feel right. Like that's the entire situation with In the Dark, is that she has to do one thing after another. But that's how it's set up. You know, like this one, it just felt episodic, and then he'd introduce new characters, and it was just kind of weird. 4 out of 5 stars. The atmosphere, though, especially in the beginning, is fantastic. So, all right. So, these are the books I read recently. I think this one I finished, this top one, I finished, I guess, June 3rd. So in the last couple of weeks, these are the books I've read. That's all for today. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.